Guys, thank you so much for buying Punched. We're gonna get right into it and show you what it does, and then we'll show you what the gimmick looks like. So with Punched, you can take a borrowed deck, untreated, ungimmicked. This is in my hands for the first time. You can have them name a 4 of a kind or a card or whatever. In this case, name a 4 of a kind for me.
7.
7. So we're gonna go through, and you're able to pull the 7s out just to show them that they're really in the middle, right? You can show them that. And right now what I'm doing is I'm actually putting a tactile marking with the Punched gimmick on each of these cards so that I can find them later.
Under the guise of finding that they're all in the deck in the first place. This is the first time you've touched this deck.
So now I've touched it, I've upjogged his 4 cards he names, and now you're able to just, the spectator can push them in, handle it, take it away, and go ahead. They can shuffle it up as much as they want. And now, what that means is that at any moment, as soon as you get these cards back, you can then cut, and you can then show that you've got one of the 7s, and you can just keep going, keep finding them. And now I want to show you what this marking looks like. This isn't like a breather crimp where you're bending the whole card. You're actually putting a little like pin dot.
Like a braille.
Like a little piece of braille. That's the best way to describe this. And I'll show you, since the camera probably will never pick this up, I'm going to show you how big the dot is. So the dot is right. Oh, not even that line. So forget the little line, little dot here. I'll draw. Oh, we'll just pick out another 7. We'll show you right now. But again, this thing is so tiny. There you go. That's how size that is. But it sticks out like a sore thumb when you feel it. And it allows you to, it's big enough to allow you to have these big breaks where you can cut to it. And that is all done with the Punched gimmick, which we'll show you right here.
Looks like this. Now there's a little bump on the outside of the gimmick. That tells you which direction the bump will be on the card. All you have to do is put a card in, squeeze it, and it's done. It's marked. It's punched.
And for the handling of it, we'll get into much more detail on the handling, but I'll show you really quick just the overview of what's happening. So as this is in your palm, in a finger palm type thing, and as soon as you get to a card that you need to outjog, the card just slides right into it, and you squeeze and lift. And now you've got the card stuck out, and that 4 now, again, you won't see it, but you can feel it, and it's completely marked.
So inside your package, you get 2 Punched gimmicks, 1 flesh color, 1 black color, and you also get a keychain. So you can see we've put the keychain on the black one. That means that you can carry this on your keys with you anywhere, ready to punch a deck.
Or put this on a pool, with like David and Michael Fox suggests, which is an awesome way to get rid of it super clean and super quick.
Yeah, so there's a hole that goes through this way. If you rotate it 90 degrees, there's a hole that goes through that way. So you could tie your pull directly to it, tie the pull to the keychain if you need to attach and detach. But it's basically whatever way feels comfortable. There's every option for how you could have this oriented in your hand to shoot up your sleeve on a pull. It's also perfectly sized to be finger palmed, which is a great reason for having your flesh colored one. The black colored one's great for sleeving because it'll go up your black sleeve and nobody will be able to see it. Black one's great for carrying on your keychain because it looks like a keychain. It's not going to arouse any suspicion. Also, in here, this opening is wide enough that you can place a card in and punch it in the dead center. If you need to punch a card in the middle so that you can do any routines with that, that's an option that's available to you. There's also a tiny little window that's a little bit, like it's not super see-through, but it gives you enough to see when you're punching that white spot in the middle, or if you're trying to punch a specific spot for marking your cards, you have just enough to see where you are on the card through this window. That will be exactly where your punch mark ends up.
Yep. So on one side, again, it's hard to show you this because all this is like minute details, but you'll see the raised bump, which again, Daryl says whatever way that bump is, that's the way the stamp will happen. You'll have a bump the same way. And right next to that is right where this hole that Daryl's talking about is. It's right there, right next to that hole. So you have a hole and a bump, and that's kind of your tool side where you're going to be able to see where you are on the card. You can see through that little hole. You also know what side the bump's going to be on.
Right, because if you're marking this on the fly where you just are grabbing this gimmick in your hand, it's great that you have a way to feel so you know which way that bump is going to be. So you know if you're going to do a Charlier like you did, whether that card's going to end up on the top of the deck or the face of the deck. Now, an added bonus to having a bump on the outside is you can do other ways of marking a card. You can just take a card, lay it right over that, and press your thumb. So it's not actually in the gimmick right now. But just by pressing it here, this card is now very lightly, but it is indeed punched. So that's another way that you can use this gimmick. There's so many things you can do with it.
And I want to talk too a little bit about how it's 3D printed. Because this is one of the coolest things. David Michael Fox designed this, and it is one of the most precise designs we've ever seen. this thing does so much, and the 3D printing materials are so durable. When you know 3D printing can be very weak and brittle, but that goes back to the design. You know, Daryl loves 3D printing, but everything he builds is robust. And what's so cool is to meet David Michael Fox, who also builds robust 3D prints that are going to last you a long time. And so this is one of my favorite gimmicks we've ever done because of how great it is to mix into any card situation. If you're doing for magicians, great. If you go to someone's house and they're playing cards, even better. And that's the punch gimmick, and we're going to show you all the millions of uses. This is going to be kind of just a playground from here on out, show you the handlings of the main routine, and then tell you all the other stuff you can do with it.
So this is what you should never do with your punch gimmick, but we're going to show you. So if you get this and you start, prying it open for one reason or another, it's 3D printed and it is strong, and you can pry it open and it'll return to its form. Now, if you pry it open, I don't know how you accidentally do this. It didn't break. You can put it back. You can put it under warm water to get the plastic to be soft, and it'll mostly come back. With the water, it'll come 100% back. But we get a lot of concerns about what happens when you're using 3D printed products. And what's great is this can splay open. Like, by now, you're just trying to break it, right? But this is still a functional gimmick. You do have to heat it up at this point. There's no way this is going back together. But if something crazy happens, you're
Run
punched.
that under warm water. I've seen him do it. It's amazing. You run it under warm water, put it back to its position, hold it there for like a few seconds, and you're completely back to your reset punch gimmick. And that's if somehow you end up with this point. And
Don't do this.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have a cool trick with it, come fool us with our own tricks. We love that. So.
Yeah. All right, let's learn some routines.
All right, guys, so I'm going to go over in detail now the handling of this main routine, which is borrow a deck, name a 4 of a kind, make sure they're there, let them shuffle it, and then find it in a bunch of different ways. So starting off, I'm just going to go over how to mark those cards when someone hands you a deck. So this gimmick I always like to have, in my hand, especially when I'm asking, because it's so just nondescript, and you haven't done anything. Can I borrow some cards, whatever.
Right. And in that finger palm, like in the trailer, you're able to run your hair through your fingers and do whatever.
Out, nothing weird going on, because it's like this really nice finger palm where I'm not having to grip it with multiple fingers. It's a single finger palm. So I now have a deck of cards.
You borrow that.
And now this kind of move is you just want to be here, show him the thing in this. So again, it's just gonna be playing in the mirror a bit, seeing what works for you, and then just putting this while your hand's down and you're passing the deck, touch, rotate, and there's no chance Daryl could see that. You guys would probably see that, but there's no chance that Daryl is seeing that. And now I'm in my set position, which is for me in my right hand with the opening towards the tip. Just like that. And that just wedges in. Super nice there. Small, big fingers, doesn't matter. You'll be able to get that.
And you can run with your thumb to tell which direction that bump is going to, because you may have to, depending on the routine, want to change it.
Yeah, because that's why there's a reason that it's a distinctual bump one way or the other, because for different routines, you'll need different things. And so I always like to have it where it is actually rotated. So I actually have it backwards, which then is flat there, but the bump is towards my fingers now.
So that means when you're rubbing with your thumb, you feel smooth.
Yep, I feel smoothness with my thumb, and I feel a bump there. There we go. So now, name a 4 of a kind for me, Daryl.
9s.
9s. Okay, so now I'm going to go through just normal, this whole thing, so you guys can see I'm just holding it there. And I got the cards as cover now. So he's got no chance of seeing this. I do it right under his nose, so you can really get it up close.
Keep it up high.
And so now we find the first 9. Okay, so first 9. Now I'm going to...
This is reminiscent of culling to me.
It is, but it's a little bit different, but it does feel like that 100% when you do it. So now I basically just latch this gimmick down right before the 9. So the 9's here, and I'm latching this gimmick down to pinch everything here. So from there, now this gimmick again has a little ramp on it, which is going to be hugely helpful in this. So as you're going through, I found my 9, I pinch down, I come here, and
you're not pinching hard enough to compress the... You're just holding it down,
Holding it down. Now I'm holding it down. The 9 goes right into the gimmick. And this is before I outdraw. I like it because I like my mark being right here on the side. So as soon as the 9 goes in, I can then squeeze.
And you don't have to squeeze the devil out of it. You just are applying pressure.
Applying some pressure. And then this 9 just slides up and out of the gimmick, and I'm ready to keep going. So I'm going to keep going from the back. You'll see everything. Oh, look, another 9 gets stamped and gets up jogged, and it's out of the gimmick. Oh, look, another 9, stamped, up jogged, gimmicks out. And one more. I might have actually, see, I missed that one. So that might happen, but you'll definitely feel it. That's the cool thing, because if it's not punching a card, you will know that it didn't make it. So right there, I can see that the card did not make it in there, and I felt it. So then if that happens, I'm pushing here, and I know it didn't click, I just pull it back out, readjust, take your time. They don't think anything's happening. You haven't done anything. You're just doing the most fair thing, is pulling out the cards you just named, And then you're about to do the most fair thing, which is now hand this thing off.
Right. And you have a choice now. You could tell them to take the 9s out and lose them anywhere in the deck. You could tell them to simply just push them in. But either way, the 9s are the only cards marked in this, so they can shuffle it however they want.
And again, handing him the deck, I'll go over just like how I would hand him the deck, is again, all you have to do because of how this gimmick works is to collapse it, if you're ever like in a panic mode where you need to like make sure your angles are right, what's great about this is just close your hand around the gimmick. Like it's so small and so irrelevant to what's happening that you can get away with just a clenched fist because you're not doing coin productions, you're doing card tricks.
Yeah. And for anybody who's ever studied cigarette magic or anything, like you know that you have other options available to you, like a thumb palm of a cigarette. That, like if you know your angles for palming anything else, you know your angles for palming the punched gimmick.
And so now on the handing out, again, you can see here, this is how I cover 100% of the angles on the handoff if you're surrounded, right? So you've got it there, this finger goes in front, this finger goes in back, deck covers there, and there's nowhere up or down that the spectator can see this gimmick. So what I like to do is turn it upside down, say there's the cards, and then I just squeeze my hand closed. There you go.
As you let it die.
As I let it die, yeah.
So now, one other thing as they're shuffling to look for. Because all of these punches for this routine are off to the side slightly. You know, you're not jamming that card into the center to get a center punch. You're doing it on the edge. So if a spectator shuffles like this, if they shuffle like this, that's all fine because the cards aren't being rotated at all.
And you got to be mindful of that, right? And it's because they're not in the middle. You have to know that you're holding the deck. And that's just paying attention, right? You have nothing, no other job now. The work's done. All you have to do is make sure that deck doesn't get rotated. And we'll show you another check that you can probably do once you get this deck back.
If it does, it doesn't break the trick. It just lets you know. Because if somebody starts shuffling like this, you know, you could see that one got rotated.
Which is good to know. Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So now some of the cards may be facing the other way. And all that means is that when you go to cut for the cards, you can see these pegs in the side of the deck. It makes, maybe you at home won't see, but when you have the cards in your hand and you're practicing with this, you will see the lines there, there, and there. I can see 3. That means that there's 1 right there that got flipped around. Or the other 3 got flipped. I don't know. But the point is, as you're going through and finding those, you know where you're going to be cutting. You will have to rotate the deck 180 degrees to find the last one. That's all you have to know. Easy.
And now let's say, because the most simple way to do this is we're going to get into the way of like finding the aces, which is like kind of a more jazzy routine because you're going to have to pivot and change as you're going through trying to find these bumps. What I'll show you now is the dealing procedure. So that way you can go out and do this right this second. So if you got up to here, you're good. All you got to do is find a way to feel for those bumps. And again, they stick out like sore thumbs. So all you're going to do is put your thumb up here and a thumb down here. And this is if it gets rotated. If it doesn't get rotated, you don't have to worry about this thumb. Okay? So, but to be sure and make sure in case, if you don't want to pay attention.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to somebody.
Blindfolded, right? Blindfolded is an option.
100%. Oh, yeah. Blindfolded 100%. You don't know how they shuffled it. You don't know these, right? So you put your thumb here and your thumb here. So now, by rubbing my thumb here, I can feel if there's a bump. Which now I don't feel a bump, so I know that's probably not one of your cards.
Yeah, you're now, 50% sure at least.
Yeah, 50% sure that that's not his card because I've gone here to deal. But as I pull this out of the deck, I'm going to make sure that my other thumb pulls and rubs against there. So I have all of this time. I say, okay, look, let's deal some cards. And I know that doesn't, and I'm 100% sure that doesn't have a bump. I go through, I feel nothing. I go through, I feel nothing. And this is all slow-mo so you can see. And as you get, oh, I feel a bump. And I don't know if this is a 7 or 9 because we've been punching all these cards, but yeah, there we go. It's one of the 9s. And so now again, I'm feeling, I'm going through, no. And then as you get faster at this, you can definitely get faster. And you can do this, oh, another bump, there's another 9. And you just keep going like that, feeling through as you go through the entire deck. I mean, they stick out so plainly. And doing this for a layperson is one of the most insane tricks you can do from them, especially like some home game. And if you really feel bad about the home game afterwards, this is a good note on this.
Yeah, now that you are finding the 9s instead of the 7s now, this is a great moment to bring this up.
Yep, just scratch the bump. So if the bump was going outwards, I just go like this, and I just kind of rub my nail against it, and that is now an undetectable card, and you don't
flattened out,
can't feel a bump.
Yeah, you won't accidentally feel that bump anymore.
And side note on all this, when we were saying don't press too hard, the good news is there's nothing really bad that can happen if you press hard, because a lot of these gimmicks, you press too hard and it'll just poke a hole in the card, and that's not what you ever want, because then you can't clean up.
Right, because the hole will always be in the card. You can't nail rub a hole and mend the card. if you can, submit your trick.
Please. Yeah, no. But David Michael Fox designed this so precisely, and that's what you get with 3D printed parts. Is this precision that is so amazing that this will never punch through, but it'll always be prominent, and it'll always be able to be rubbed out because it's the exact right size for this. So enjoy that routine. Go do it. If it seems simple to you, go do it to somebody because you will not believe the reactions you'll get.
So something else you can do with punched is mark a deck 100%. Every card marked so that you know its suit and value.
And so this is if it's your own deck, right? So now you want to set up a utility deck you can carry around with you, use a bunch, pull out at a moment's notice, do all your regular magic tricks, and then do all of this stuff we're about to show you.
So before we get into that, I just want to mention this is a deck that you can use blindfolded because you're doing it by feel. But since you're doing it by feel, this isn't the kind of deck that you would want to use for just calling cards, where you could like ace of diamonds, seven of hearts, two of spades, like, because you're gonna have to feel the card. So this is really good for when somebody picks a card and then you can like place it in the deck, you can know what that card is, right? And then now you do whatever you want to do because you know the card. But let me show you how you're gonna mark it. And I'm gonna do it with a Sharpie because I could show you with punch, but that doesn't show up very well. So on a bicycle card, and you can adjust this to any deck you want, with or without a border, does not matter. But I look on a bicycle because that gives me a good reference. Once you practice it with a bicycle, you can switch to B where you don't have these little images. And then you could switch to a knock deck, right, and where you have no reference. But if you look here in the center of the card, there's this like heart shape here. So what I do in my head is I split it up into 5 below that heart. So I go ace, 2, 3, 4, 5 as I approach.
And all these dots are like being punched with the punched. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm marking it on the border. I would punch it inside the blue area or the red area of your card. But just so you can see, I'm marking on the white. And then we would carry on. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you can see that this one is next to this like little 4 number. This one's next to that gap under that filigree. This one's next to the music note. This one's next to the angel wing. And this one's next to the spiral. You're going to mirror that on the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Now, whatever card, this is a 2, so that means you'd punch it down here. We need the court cards, so I go along the top or bottom, but you'll see. So it'll be Jack, Queen, King along there. So if you can feel one of those, you know the value of the card. Then the next is the suit. And this one, I'm just going to mark it as big as I can because it's going to be on the blue. But it would be chased, right, is what you remember. So I mark here at the bottom of the bicycle, right here at the top of the bicycle wheel, then at the chest of the angel, and then just above the circle. And that's clubs, hearts, spades, diamonds, CHSD. So now once you've marked that, then you'll rotate the card, and you'll mark it again.
Yep. So right? this is a process, right? But it's something you got to do, one time, and then you've got this deck.
Yes.
So and you got to practice with a lot too. This is not going to be something that you're just going to pick up and know what the card is right away, like you're just feeling for a bump. Because now you're feeling for a specific bump in a specific location. And yeah, it's going to take some practice. But if you learn this will be insane. And I'll show you a trick that you can do simplified with this also.
And if you've ever worked with an edge mark deck, you're going to be very familiar with the rehearsal and practice that goes into this, and you'll have a leg up on anybody who hasn't used an edge mark deck. But basically, once you have your whole deck marked, you can run your thumb this way. That'll tell you if it's a court card, and if it is, you'll know whether it's Jack, Queen, or King. Then you can run your thumb up, and that's only if it's not a court card. That'll tell you which number it is, right? You can feel when that bump runs across your thumb. So it's boom, boom. And then as you drag it out, your other thumb is going to drag across the center. I'm left-handed. I mean, it's the same thing right-handed.
But that's basically the way your thumbs. It's finding nice ways to finesse your thumb so you can feel as much of this card as you can as you're dealing.
Yeah, because in a deal it would look like, well, I messed up, but it would look like that.
Yep.
Right, and I felt every spot that could be.
The L and your thumb for the suit.
Yep. And now you know what card it is, and that you can punch the whole deck. Then you're punching it on both sides, so then it doesn't matter if the deck gets rotated in a shuffle. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. And then you have a fully marked punch deck that can be expected. It passes the riffle test, right? That's how you can always tell if a deck is marked, by just flicking and seeing what changes. Nothing's going to change because the ink isn't altered at all. The paper in 3D space is moved, and that's something that won't come across even if somebody knows what they're looking for. So this is the way that I use punched the most, is just having a spectator select a card, right? So
take one out.
any card, doesn't matter. It could be their borrow deck, or borrow a deck from them.
Ooh, do I get to sign it?
You can sign it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Great. So don't let me see it. Right, you'd be holding it like this, right? And then I can take, with the punch gimmick in finger palm, I can just take the card from him, and I'm not trying to load it into the punch gimmick
from my hand,
right in his face, right? So I can take it, I can show it to everybody else, and then all I'm gonna do from here is feed it in. Okay, that's as I'm showing everybody else. Now it's kind of like what is that, Down's palm, I think, right? So that here everybody can see everything from this. You don't want to show them that view or that view, right? So you can take this, show everybody the card is punched. Now the gimmick retreats back into finger palm. Obviously, if you're doing this version, use the flesh colored gimmick. And then that card can go into the deck, and I can offer it to you to shuffle.
Yep, and that's one of the coolest things. If you guys haven't done a signed card trick, if the spectator can shuffle the cards, always let them shuffle, because you can do anything fishy. Like let's say you do want to take this card back, right? I got the gimmick in my hand. I say, here, take out any cards you want. It's signed, it's whatever. And then I want to take it back. I want to put it in, and they think I'm doing something, because this is how I do it. I take it back from them, and then we'll talk about the fishiness of it, right? So I take it back with the punch gimmick, again, not trying to get it, not loading it. And I don't play around with the angles when it's a signed card thing, so I just death grip it, right? So if you got those angles because you're coin magic, great. If not, just death grip it and let everybody see it. I still haven't punched it yet. I'm going to go here now into the deck, and now on my way out, I'm going to go right back in, punch it, and then finish pushing it in.
Great.
Okay? And then, now even if that comes off clunky and you feel like it was weird or whatever, got to do it, and trust me, it's so cool. Anytime you do a sign card trick and someone thinks you're doing something funny, and you say shuffle those cards, it's just like a wash of relief, and you've already done all the work, and now the gimmick goes away while they're shuffling. Again, just death grip it and put it away, and they're shuffling, and now you're going to be able to find their card. It's like putting a breather into their card, but better, because I did it real time with any card right there.
Right. It's not pick a card. Okay, great. Yeah, let me just massage this card a little bit and throw it in the deck. No, it's just I'm going to take your card and put it in the deck, and then you're home free. You could do anything. There's a great one that you could do. Finger flicker. You want to talk about that for a second? Now that we have a card selected and in the deck, I mean, you could do the hot shot cut. You could just by cutting, you can control a card to the top, and you can do any sort of thing that you want to do to reveal. But something that is epic with this is finger flicker. Yeah, so we can't exactly teach you what finger flicker is. It's by Pitt Hartling. David Blaine did it to, I think, Ellen on like a park bench or something, and it was awesome. And you can do that trick. That trick uses its method, but with punched, if you know that method, you'll know exactly what to replace, how to use punched. And the visual is this: you can then essentially have a deck of cards, have them same process, sign cards, shuffle it up, and then you can take your finger and go boom and flick the deck, and it will open up. Just cuts right there.
Right where the card is. They can pick it up. They can see their signed card, and that's it. So go look up finger flicker. One of the best tricks in Magic ever invented, I think. So clever, and do it with punched, because we like it better that way. Yeah,
and just like again, go get it if you don't have it, but with punched, it's great because you can affect which way this dimple is going from the punched gimmick just by whether you're feeling the bump up or down. Yep. And you can control how you want to cut it. So with the original one, it's always like flicks up, and it's the one that lands face up, I believe. So now if you wanted to do it where a card is selected, like just named, and you go through and find it, or a card is selected freely with the deck in their hands, whatever, as long as you can touch that card for a second, you can punch it, and you can punch it this way or that way so that it can cut and show their card, or cut, and then you get this dramatic build to then show their card was the face down card. So again, huge props to finger flicker, Pitt Hartling, epic trick. Yeah, and the good thing is most of you guys probably know what that is. Yeah. And so if you show this to a magician with a deck that like you just got and just did it, like they're going to be blown away. So have fun with that. On that, I want to go back to one other thing, is if you're doing a sign card, because it all ties in with different ways to reveal the sign card. If you're doing it in like a 360 scenario, because Daryl and I both had moments where I'm actually put the gimmick in my pocket, I already ditched it. Is you're left with moments like this, where I'm reaching in and someone's behind my shoulder. It might not be good, but I want to give you guys a foolproof 360 kind of way to do it. And so the way that's going to work, and I do this a lot, because I just like I like to not think about angles, and so this is how I get away with it. So I open my fingers up on the deck,
put the gimmick there, and I'm holding it. So it's sticking out. I keep it under the deck, and you can do this in any way really that's comfortable. I kind of have it there. I always try and like fit it, but really it's just there. And I've now got it under the deck. So now I can, show. I have no chance of showing anybody, no problem. I say take out a card. Go ahead, sign it. We don't have to actually sign it. Again, I'm still fully covered here, ready to splay open, but I'm still covered. So now I'm able to take this. I say, watch, put your card in the middle. Now I have no angle concerns, right? And now I say, I want you to see, I love doing this because if you're doing the move, reinforce how fair it is while you're doing the move. Yeah. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna say, you pick that card, you shuffle the cards, I didn't make you pick that card, and you put it in the middle. Yep. Well, let's make sure it's really in the middle. And now you really are pulling the gimmick out. You are really pulling it from this hand into this hand, but I've got, as long as nobody's sitting down underneath me, right? Now I'm gonna say, look, and I got full deck cover. Again, no one can see anything, no one behind me, no one around me.
Right, now we're in this position that we've already learned.
Yep. I can say, look, that was your card, and now we're in this position we already learned. It goes right in, stamp it, and say, you know what? Actually, let's leave it right there, and let's have you shuffle. And now death grip if I need to, because who cares?
Yeah.
And he's seeing his card signed.
Yeah,
there's nothing funny happened.
I know you didn't Mercury fold it and have it in your hand. It's right here.
Go ahead. And it's a borrowed deck too, so it's like, have fun with it, guys. We've been having so much fun. This has been nonstop since David Michael Fox has gotten this in our hands. Let me get that punch gimmick in my palm. There it is. So I'm going to do a trick now that involves two people. So we're going to have Daryl, invisible spectator. That's how it's going to have to be. You guys have to just imagine another human being here. So again, shuffle the cards first. Again, make sure he doesn't see the gimmick. And now I say take out a card. Take out one for your invisible counterpart for me. Great. Now, I guess I'll kind of walk through how I'm doing it as it's going, right? So nothing's happened. I've just got it in the same position I sat. You guys saw me because I fumbled with it, and now I've got it. And now I've got two cards. So I'm going to say from the first person, sign it. Doesn't matter if it's signed. I mean, better if it's signed. So give you some time to kind of do all this. I'm going to take one of these cards back. I'm going to say, Greg, you signed to give him the Sharpie. He's going to sign it now. And so now I have got this card, and I've inserted it so that it's in the middle of this punch game. I haven't squeezed yet, though, and I'll show you guys why. Because I'm just here. I take the other card back now, and now I put it here.
All right, so they're fanned out.
Which is normal. So I want to accept both cards. I have them fanned out. And what's happening here is I have this gimmick lined up on the middle. If you look right here, it's on the middle of this card and on the corner of this card, which is going to be a huge thing in a minute because you're going to need to distinguish between them by feel. So now by having that there into the corner, now I'm going to push once. And now a cool thing about this is that although it can't punch all the way through a single card, it can still punch through two cards at the same time. So now I've loaded, you can do this with three cards too if you get really good at it. You just find different positions, and we've done it with three, but two. Boom, it's punching through two. It won't punch through three. It'll punch through two, and you might have to do some weird finagling, but two definitely punches through. So you've got them there, and now you're able to say, okay, now I say, okay, now I have a question for you, okay? And now the gimmick's just getting dropped. I say, now if I mix these cards up, and I handed you one, okay, and I mixed them up, and I said, this was yours, and this was yours. That would be impressive?
That would be.
It would be. But now what if I put them into the middle of the deck and I shuffle them? And I'm just shuffling the cards and I say, now, what if I went through the deck and told you that was your card and that was your card? Pretty impressive?
That would be impressive.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what's even more impressive. How about you shuffle them and then I'll find them?
And what's great about that is I've given you credit for doing those tricks. Even though you never showed me those cards and you did just arbitrarily pull cards out, there's this moment that happens in the spectator's mind where it's like, no way. And then you take it back and you escalate it, right? It's never making a promise and then delivering less than that promise. It's making a promise. They're like, no freaking way. And then you increase the promise. And then like, no way. And then you increase the promise again. And now you have two punched cards in a deck. They're punched in different places. So you don't know who picked what card, but you know that the middle punch card goes to this person, and the corner punch card goes to that person.
So you can nail it exactly. And
you can't tell them what card they picked, but you can pull it out and say, that's your card, Ace of Spades. That's your card, Two of Clubs, right?
And you're good to go. And so with that, I just like, there's not now finding these cards. We haven't really gotten to that, which we're going to get into in the next section here, which is going to be kind of jazzing and finding those cards. But if you wanted a deal here, you can even escalate it more and just do the deal like we showed you before. You can figure out, as you're running through these, you're just going to kind of run through, again, making sure the rotation didn't happen. But you could also get blindfolded now and do the deal again. Or just do the deal because you don't know what these cards are, and you're able, again, to feel across that bottom. And if you really want to and you did lose it, then feel across both. And now you're good because it's going to be the middle and the corners.
And if you're a mentalist as opposed to a magician, you get afforded some leeway, which is kind of interesting and dramatic, is that you could still just feel the back end and deal through the whole deck and only find one card. And then you can give that card, and you know who to give that card to, right? I guess this technically works for a magician. The mentalist is more if you deal through the whole deck and you don't find anything. But for a magician, you could deal through 52 cards and then set this card down. When you feel it, you set it down. You don't give it to anybody. And you deal. Now you've dealt through the whole deck, you found one card, and you give it to this person. Then you pick the deck up, rotating it, and you do the same procedure to give it to the next person. Let them both turn it over. It's both their cards. And that was if you were blindfolded and you had no idea which way the orientation was. As a mentalist, if you deal through and you miss everything, maybe not the best for a magician, but, I know magicians who adhere to this philosophy. But the idea is you can deal through and it didn't work. What I'm doing right now is not a trick. It's actual magic. And magic I don't have control over 100%. I just am better at controlling magic than you. I'm going to try it again. And now the second time you're dealing through, there's the anticipation building, because not only is it not work, he's doubling down. He's expecting something to work, and I'm starting to think it's not going to work. This can't be fake, because you wouldn't fake that.
Right, exactly. And yeah, you wouldn't purposely mess up. And as long as you don't give an inkling that something's wrong, they won't know.
Yep.
And this is, again, only if you put yourself in the position where you're blindfolded and you don't know what's happening and all this stuff, right? So now let's get into the jazzing section of how to find punched cards in a deck, because that's what you're going to end up with in pretty much all these scenarios. So we'll show you how to find some cool ways to find them.
So the first thing you need in order to find a punched card is a punched card. Now, in experimenting, we find out that if you're going to try to cut to a card, you want to make sure that the punch is closer to the edge. If you're finding it by other means, it can be anywhere. If you're finding it while dealing, yeah. But for this, we'll put it just right here on the border edge. So it's just, if I moved any more this way, it would have been on the white border. So now we have Ace of Diamonds, punch card. And
what's cool is, that card's there. You can mix it up as much as you want, and then you can cut to it right away. Like I just put it in there, had no break. And now you're looking for something here when you cut to these cards is you're either going to, it's not really, you get better with it and be more exact, but one of two things will happen, because you can see the break, so you cut to it. You'll either see that you'll be seeing the card you're trying to cut to, or you won't. So if you don't see it, it's better, because you're going to cut it right to the top, which is what's going to happen now, right? I cut it, and now the ace is back on top. Okay, but if you do that again, and again, I'm going to make sure I keep the orientation, because you need to know, well, this is your deck, then you can punch both sides or whatever. But it goes in, again, you can see it.
And that gives you a place to estimate where to cut to, right?
Yep, and then you'll feel it, because your thumb just lightly runs it. The whole thing about it is like a light touch, so it just naturally picks up there. Because if you go hard, then you're just going to cut the deck. So you can't do that. You have to rub your thumb up gently. Now, this is the opposite scenario. Now it's ended up on the bottom. So now if you're really good, you could drop that card, which I'm not. So what I like to do is do it just I already know it's happening, so the motion never stops and I show it. And that's kind of a nice way to do that, right? Because you got, again, the punch card can go in. I'm not holding any breaks, but you can kind of see estimated where it is right there. And again, now I'm not digging my finger in, I'm just letting everything kind of fall. And that's all that's going to happen. And you're just looking for the ace or not the ace. And you can do this on the table the same way. As you get better on it, you can just feel it. And then you'll know. And then you're going to be good to go. So, and now if you want to do some of these cool flourishy outs, basically all you need to do, because instead of trying to find it and then cut it, an easy way is talk, casually look, cut the card to the top. Right, cut it to the top, and then now it's on the top or the bottom. You'll know, because again you saw it. And then do any of your other favorite hot shot cuts. Do any of the other Daryl.
Our third brother that
passed away, but he's got good magic out there.
He does, and his DVD, Daryl's Card Revelations. Not one DVD, his whole DVD series. That you can get that at your favorite Murphy's Magic dealer, I'm sure. And
just get it and cut it, and it's there, and you can do all of his stuff. Because essentially every one of his starts with control the card to the top or bottom, pretty much.
When I was a kid, the DVD that I learned all my Card Revelation stuff from was Tomas Medina's Cardiologist deck. I'll give him a plug. That was a really cool one.
So go learn your ace reveals. Use this to control it to the top or bottom to then do any of the reveals you'd like. Go. All right, guys, so this has been all about cards so far, but now we're going to get into the mentalism section. So Daryl knows more about this than me because he is the mentalist, but I think we've created some cool stuff here, and Daryl's got some awesome applications, and we're just kind of discuss it and then go through what the potential is with using punch for mentalism.
Yeah, so this is a pegger, a puncher, a dimple maker that can work on cards or anything like that.
Dollar bills works too. So we want somebody to come up with an awesome dollar bill trick, because it does work on bills. And we racked our brain for a little bit. Somebody come up with a dollar bill trick and show it to us with this, because it's probably gonna be something cool.
So just with a paper bag, right? You can put that in there, punch the bag, and now there's a dimple on this bag that you can feel.
I mean, and again, I can't wait for you guys. If you got this far, I hope you've punched something and felt it. 'Cause
Yeah.
that is prominent.
So with this, you could, I punched it through 4 layers of paper bag, and it still is prominent. If you want it to be even more, you could just go through a single layer, make sure it's oriented the right way, boom. Now on that outsidemost layer is even more prominent, and you could do 20 marks on here if you wanted to, because it doesn't show up, but it's something you can feel. So for that, you could put something like a spike in a bag, make sure it lands up, have 3 other empty bags. The only thing that you have to make sure that you do is that you put it, the spike goes in the bag with your punch marks, and you don't let anybody punch any of the other bags. You can crush, 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 and then when you get to this one, open it up and show your spike. Now the only thing about that is that's super dangerous, right? Because if anything goes wrong, then you just,
Don't use a real nail. It's a candle.
Yeah.
Pick them up because they're awesome. They're candles.
We got them at Walmart. I think you can get them at the dollar store. Like, they're just silver birthday candles. So the good news about that is you could, like, if you stab the wrong bag, I mean, what you would have to do is just like make the audience believe that by process of elimination, the bag left is the one with the spike in it, right? You can't now take it out and show it. But thankfully, you still have your hand. You can still continue the show.
So even if something goes wrong, use the candle. It's really cool. You just cut the wick off. They were already sharpened like this, and they look very silver. And if you bang this against a wine glass, which I don't have, you go ting. It tings just like a real nail, and it sounds amazing. We'll probably be selling these at some point on Abstract Effects if you guys can't find them on your own. But again, go to Walmart. You'll see them. And
yeah, something to know. They are wax because they are candles, so they're a little bit flexy. But you can have somebody feel the tip of the nail to prove that it's sharp. Cool. So the one thing that we found by trial and error is not to be like, here, touch the top, because then it could kind of
bend, and they're like, what's going on? Yeah.
So instead, you show the nail like this. You say, here, touch the top. Is that sharp?
And that feels super sharp like a nail.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to press hard enough to crush the wax right now. They're going to feel the hardness and that it came to a steep point and that it's uncomfortable on their hand.
Yep, it's crazy how much that I don't want to push on that, even though I would smash my hand on it otherwise.
Yeah, because it is totally fine, right? It's not what you want to do. It's not the best thing, but it's way better than having a steak knife under one of these bags and messing up the trick.
Yep, and so I'll give a kind of an overview in case you don't know about this trick. This is for your smash and stab. Again, you're going to have...
It's like Russian roulette.
Russian roulette, you got 4 bags on the table. You got one with your mark on it, one with your nail. Spectator mixes them up. You come back over, you're like, okay, here we go. Okay, and you can be blindfolded.
Right, you're feeling the bags to know where they are because you're blindfolded for this trick.
Like, oh, where are these bags? You're like, oh, okay, there's the bag.
And then you arrange them in whatever order you want, and that's when you feel it.
And so now you can go do that trick. Again, don't use a real nail. We've seen it go bad. If you haven't seen it go bad, Google it because it goes real bad. Don't use a nail.
Don't Google it. You don't want to see it.
Yeah, don't Google it. Okay. Next, mentalism trick.
Yeah. So now we can do psychometry as well.
Yeah. So psychometry is an awesome trick, and the effect is, so from a non-mentalist perspective, is that people put objects in bags, and then you can figure out whose object is whose.
Yep.
From an audience.
Yep. So the mentalist would have bags handed out to random audience members.
Multiple bags, 3, 4, 5.
Yep, 5, yep. And then they put an object with personal value into the bag. Somebody collects them all and then mixes them and brings them to the performer, and the performer lays them all out. Then the performer can pick something up, feel around it, get some sort of like, psychic vibration sense of what it is, and then open it up, take the object out, and immediately name who it is.
Yep, and that's kind of like, it's a really crazy effect. I seen it the first time I saw it, I was totally fooled. I didn't realize what was going on, and it's so cool to have these people this works really well in a bigger group because then it's like you can't guess that the chapstick came from the one girl in your group. That is for a stage piece where you've got a whole audience of random people throwing stuff into a bag, and then you're able to be like, it's you in the third row, and they're like, what? And
then the smart mentalist, in my opinion, would take the object out of the bag, right? As you're opening the bag, you're feeling the mark because the bags are marked 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
And so how do you do that? Let's pause there for a second.
Oh, yeah. So it would be marked, for 1, it would just be 1 punch. 2 would be 2.
Great.
3 would be 3. 4 would be 4, and 5 would be 5, and that's it. And you can hand these out to people to put objects in, and they're not going to see. It's not like you Sharpie marked them, they're pencil dotted them, or something that somebody could see.
And so, yeah, if you feel it, you can't feel unless you know what you're looking for. It just feels like a piece of the bag. But if you know, I mean, these are so prominent again. And unlike the smash and stab, where you're feeling just lightly, kind of to like get the feel of which one has the bump. This one you can actually manhandle, so don't be thinking you have to quickly figure out what's 5 because they know that you're handling the bag, you're listening to the bag, you're getting psychic vibes from the bag. And this whole time I'm going, and honestly, in lights right now, which is like we basically have stage lights, I can count how many dots are on there. It's because it's close and the lighting's right. So. And now you're going to know whose it is once you pull out that object.
And as I was saying before, the smart mentalist will take this out, lose the bag, and then start feeling, like I say it was a watch, start feeling this. Now, the bag's away. The bag has nothing to do with it. The bag is what relayed you the mark to tell you which spectator this belongs to. Then you can give this object to that person. Take the effect totally away from the bags.
That's awesome.
And start getting vibrations from people's things and knowing who they belong to. Yep. That's awesome. Another thing, we have some note cards here.
Yeah, great. So again, to review how you would do that trick if you don't know about it, is just you would have 5 bags on stage with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mark. You would pass them out to 5 people. They can mix up the bags. No, they can't mix up the bags.
They can mix up the bags, yeah.
They can mix up the bags. So
yeah, because they're marked, so they can be in any
order.
Right, so they can't take objects out and start mixing like that, but nobody would do that.
Right,
don't
so
let them.
Good to know. Okay, so they all put their objects in. They can mix up the bags, so you can come up, and now you can be like, you, this is your bag. I mean, you could really just do the trick, be like, here's your bag, here's your bag, here's your bag, which isn't a good trick. Like Daryl said, get the bags out, and the people are going to be like, well, how the heck do you know that was my watch? It's very personal to strangers. They're like, how did he hold my grandfather's nickel? I don't know, because some people with weird stuff in here too. It's not like everyone's going to put a diamond ring in it, because nobody's going to put a diamond ring in it. It's going to be like a ticket of something, and then you can cold read from that too, which is awesome. So again, get ready for some weird objects. If you've never done this, you'll have fun jazzing on stage when you pull out like some open jar of chapstick or something.
Yeah. And then, the bags, like for your like internal monologue, the bags are just to hide the objects as they come from there to here. They have nothing to do with the trick. You get rid of them as soon as you can. It just needed to not see the chapstick come from that lady straight up to the stage and then have me say, this is your chapstick. That's not a good trick. So,
on to the next one.
Anything else with that one?
Nope, on to the next one.
Now, you can do word revelations. This is one that I really like. So, with just a stack of note cards, you could hand these out like before the show. Every chair gets a note card and a golf pencil in it, right? Now, everybody in the audience, at some point in your show, you can tell them to write a random word on these cards. Then you do another trick, kill some time, whatever it is that you're performing. But ultimately, you're going to have everybody from the audience write a word on a card, and they'll all pass it down. Somebody will collect them all and bring them all up. Now, you have generated basically a borrowed deck of words just by using your whole audience. This is awesome, because now using this, you can do it real time, just like every card trick we've done, but instead of revealing their card, you're revealing a word that was made up by a spectator in your show, live, real time. And all you're doing is a card is selected, it's punch marked in your favorite way, like we taught a bunch with the cards. You go back and look at that if you need to. Then it gets replaced in the stack of note cards, and you're going to find it just like you would find a card in the act of shuffling it, in the act of getting rid of them, whatever. I mean, these cards are just small enough that you could even Charlier these, right? Well, just about.
Oh, that was impressive.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe they're not quite, but you could definitely get that break and then do that if you needed to. If your hands are smaller, or if your hands are bigger, then you're going to have an easier time than me.
Yeah, and there's tons of ways to get this word reveal too. I mean, on smaller settings, that's what I think about a lot, is like you kind of do a mix of like this psychometry thing with these note cards as well. You hand 5 cards with 5 separate markings, then I'm going to know which card is each person's, which could say something, right? Because then you could have somebody mix it up, and I could be like, yeah, you definitely pick this word, and there's some cool things you do, like when because you get the next one, right? So you can go like this. I say, look, I've got the pile of 5 cards, let's say. This is for a smaller scale, right? I say, I know this is definitely your word. Go ahead, turn that over and tell me. And now I just peek at the next word down here. And now I know it's okay, let's see this word probably. And now I know whose it is, and I know what word it is. And the thing is, the way you get away with peeking at the bottom like this is just handing it to somebody to reveal it. So first I'm like, is that your word? And I've got my peek here, right? I come over and I say, okay, great. Next person, I say, go ahead, turn that over. Tell me what you see. And I've already got my peek there. I just turned it for a second. And now I'm just keep taking from the bottom and keep showing and handing out, and you're good to go.
And if you want it, instead of taking from the bottom, you can casually mix the cards throughout. So I just moved the card that was originally on bottom to the top. And it seems like I'm being more fair but really I'm being more sneaky.
Yep, and so it's great. The first one you give away just saying whose card it is, and then you get to build it up. Maybe you do 2 that way, and then the third one now their guard's down. They're like, oh, this is cool, and then it gets cooler, and then it gets cooler.
And then I mean, taking this to other people's work that you may be familiar with or you should look into is Sneak Thief, which is a drawing duplication built in this way, where it's starting off as a drawing psychometry and moves into drawing duplication. Like anything in mentalism where it's marked, you can now make those objects more examinable and more foolproof,
and because you're not
throw a blindfold on, because now you're not looking for a little pencil dot, you're not looking for a little mark, you're feeling, and you can. Like, the reason that marked card tricks are bad in so many instances is because the magician starts looking down at it and like studying it. And
because you're trying to find a mark. You guys have been there. I've been there. It's like, there's nothing wrong with it. You get better with it. You practice. The mark decks are awesome. But again, you're looking and this is what gives away to a spectator. Like, what is he doing? As opposed to, if I'm here making dead eye contact.
You can be feeling 20 times in a row.
I'm feeling, I'm double checking, I'm looking, I'm thinking, and they don't know. As long as I'm not looking at this ever.
Yeah.
You're good.
Now, we've talked about blindfolds. Or is there anything else that we should
drawing duplication.
Yeah, well, drawing duplication would be done in much the same way, having everybody draw a picture and then marking it.
Oh, right. Instead of words, you just do it with pictures. Do everything we said. You can tell people what their drawings are. Because, again, if you have your 5 things, again, you can say, okay, I think this is...
Or if you have 100 things from your big audience and one is selected from the audience on stage with you at random, right? So just to, I say it's done in much the same way, but I'll just go over it, is you get all these cards, all random drawings, all something that nobody could know. You go to your spectator, they choose one. They could take the deck and choose one, right?
So take one out.
Okay. And then meanwhile, you have your peg gimmick.
Punching any way you want to punch it, as we've gone over.
Yeah, the one thing I would recommend is with the card stuff, we're often showing the card to everybody. This one, I wouldn't show it to everybody. So instead, I would take the card, punch it, throw it in the middle of the deck, and lose it that way, okay? Then you can ditch your gimmick, and then you have a lot of time now. And they can shuffle those, right? So the only thing I know is that the picture that he's thinking of is marked in this deck. They can be shuffled, and then I can take these cards to my case, and I can find it just like that. You don't have to do a monster Charlier. And then you can double check by feeling that it's there, and then you can just quickly turn it over and see what the drawing is as you're getting that in your case. Now you're coming out of your case with 2 clipboards with paper on them. You give one to you, one to me. We stand back to back. I tell you to recreate the image big and bold so everybody can see, which is the note why I say don't show it to everybody. Otherwise, this has no sense. So you're making this drawing, I'm making this drawing, and then we can show them both to the audience. And all we are both doing in reality is copying the drawing that we found out of the stack of note cards or double blank cards. If you want to like really make it so that you can Charlier it, you can do all that. And we're just doing that, but it looks like magic.
Yep. So again, just get it in there and cut into your case is what I love, because if you look at what the audience is saying, they say I got the stack of photos. I don't know anything about the stack of photos. You guys just drew them, so it's very fair. It's not like some contrived stack of photos. Like create these photos of these drawings. They take them back, and you say, "Here, take one out. Don't matter. Okay, cool. Put it back in the middle and mix those up." How could I know where that card is?
Even though I'm going to give those to you to put away.
Yeah, I mean, even if I went through like this, like no one's gonna so how would I know that card is? But you go into your case, you say, "Okay, yeah, great." Put it face up, and then if you don't want to look right now, then you wait and you talk, and it's all about eye contact. Don't look when everybody's looking at you. So you talk, like glance at your case now. Now I'm ready.
But you get a glance at your case when you're going for the objects.
Oh, right. You're going back for more paper.
Yeah, you're going to come out with either foam core or card stock or notebooks or whatever, right? You're going to come out with this. And at that point is when your head looks down to grab those, and you're just going to see that image plain as day.
Yeah, it is a really cool way to do a drawing duplication. That was awesome. Anything else on mentalism side?
Yeah, so one quick last little thing is...
Since you're doing so much blindfold stuff.
Right? Yeah, all of these can be done with genuine blindfolds. The nice thing is there's a lot of blindfolds on the market where you can actually see through. Maybe, some have better vision than other. You can do down the nose peak. You can do all this kind of stuff. But one of my favorites is this, so it's just a normal bandana, and then I rolled the corners to the middle, okay? Maybe if I was tying a headband, I would have rolled it all in one burrito, but I have 2 little burritos that meet in the middle. Now, what's cool about this is I can take this, put it against somebody's eyes and you can't see through that.
Nothing.
Okay? Now, when I come to my eyes, I'm going to put these 2 rolls. They go on my eye side. I'll do this backwards just so you guys can get a sense of what this is. But they would go here and get tied on.
This would be inside, so they wouldn't see that.
Yeah, that would be on the inside. And then you go to adjust the blindfold so that it definitely covers your nose, right? You're going to pull it down, pull it here. Now, you can, this would be on the other side, but you can see that I'm looking through one layer of fabric. So I can see shapes, I can see forms, I can see people holding up numbers, I can see where the note cards are, I can see where the little paper bags are. Like, you can see, I couldn't see that, but basically this would be a great thing to add to when you're doing the smash and stab, right? Just whenever you have a blindfold, you can see through, whether it's this or something else on the market. Make sure that you just are closing your eyes most of the time so that you act a little bit klutzy.
So I want to try this.
Yeah.
So let's see. So I'm here.
Yep.
And
tie it on.
This is the correct way now, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to adjust.
Yeah. So you just pull it down to cover your nose, pull it up so it goes a little bit higher.
Okay. Yep. Oh, yeah.
So now
how's that look from the front?
It looks great. It looks like completely solid.
Great.
But you can see like how many fingers am I holding
2.
up?
Done.
And how about now?
4.
Yeah.
Done. Hey, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's something fun to play with. You can add it to anything that you're doing with blindfolds, just so that, you know, I mean, nothing too weird happens, but don't make it obvious that you can see through the blindfold by just reaching forward and picking up a stack of
Yeah, if you're looking, dude, I mean, everything I do with the blindfold for the dealing stuff, I just really blindfold because it helps me actually even concentrate on feeling. And then, I mean, so there you go, guys. That's the mentalism stuff. You've seen everything, guys. This is an old tool. This is a, you know, it's the punching cards and pegging cards is old concept that David Michael Fox has brought to something brand new that makes this thing streamlined, portable, modern, reliable, sturdy, strong, and it is significantly cheaper than any of these other objects on the market, and that's thanks to the 3D printing, and it ends up being stronger, better quality, and there you go.
Yeah, and something else that is so epic with this is that you're doing it real time. A traditional gambler's pegger is something that a card cheat will spend a day, the day before, marking a deck of cards with, so that it can be, they use a needle and they make sure that it doesn't quite pierce through. Something so brief that only he can feel, that nobody will be able to suspect, takes lots of time, set up before. Nobody would ever use a traditional pegger live on the fly unless, I don't know,
they were super good or adapted or something. But this is,
but
again,
this is made out of the box to be used on the fly and to be super visible to the magician's fingertips and to be invisible to any prying eyes.
Yep. So go tell David Michael Fox how awesome of a thing he created, and thank you guys for supporting him, for supporting us here at Abstract Effects. And guys, just please, if you come up with anything with this, which we know you will,